I sold my E46 M3 to Spencer Berke, the E90 throat goat himself. And I know what you're thinking. Why the hell did he buy my E46 M3? He literally only buys E9X chassis cars. If you've seen his Instagram or YouTube video, that's all he drives or likes. So I guess he just wanted to try out the chassis. I don't think it really turned out too well because after only one YouTube video, some Instagram posts, and some little sus story posts, he sold the car a month later. Again, can't really blame him. I think he just likes the E9X chassis better. The V8's really good in those cars. I have nothing bad to say against him either because it was probably the easiest deal I've ever done selling a car. I mean, he bought it like 2 hours after posting it to a Facebook group, and then the money was wired to my account the next morning. I mean, he literally bought the car in under 12 hours, and by noon the following day, he had a truck driver there to pick it up. I mean, it was a really easy transaction. Dude was really nice to talk to, was somewhat knowledgeable, knew what he wanted, and seemed really happy with the car when he got it. I think he just didn't like the chassis. So I don't think there's anything wrong with my particular car. He just didn't like the chassis. So again, can't blame him. So I did record some video the day it got picked up, but I was a little rushed because he came like a whole day early. So I'll just voice over that and kind of tell you why I sold the car. So this was my E46 M3. It was an 05 competition in Interlagos Blue. It was a manual swap car done by Lane Racing in California, so very reputable shop for this job. They changed the bell housing, they did all the work, so it is pretty much a manual car now. I mean, it is a manual car, but like it's not much different than the factory. So very solid. I also put the RTD shifter on it, so it does have the right linkage. I know some people do the RTD shifter to avoid some of the work on the manual swap, but this one is a true manual swap. It's a very solid car. I think it had like 115,000 miles when I sold it. The paint was actually really good, but it was repainted at some point, and there were some spots where you could see when they didn't tape off perfect, but I'd say it's probably like an 8 out of 10. I don't think anyone would have noticed those things unless you really spend time washing the car and looking over it. That is one of the reasons I kind of wanted to get rid of the car, because it wasn't perfect and I knew I had to repaint it at some point to be perfect, and I'm just a little obsessive about that stuff. So it was one of the small reasons. It was a manual swap, sunroof car, so I thought if I did want an E46 M3 in the future, I could always get a better example to start off of. I did do the suspension on the car. I did KW V2 coilovers with Vorschlag camber plates, Hotchkiss sway bars and end links, and all the important bushings. If I were to redo it, I'd probably do V3 coilovers or something different. I don't think the V2s are bad, but with the pandemic going on, I could really only source KW V2s. V3s and everything else was a very long wait. Same thing goes with the tires. I have Continental Extreme Sport contacts or whatever they're called. I would have much rather had Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, but you know, I guess you get what you get. So those are some small reasons I sold it, not really that important. Overall, the main thing was I just was, I guess, tired of the car. I mean, I had it for about 3 years. This is my second E46. My first one was a non-competition manual coupe in Laguna Seca Blue. I actually think I like Interlagos Blue more after owning it, but yeah, owned 2 E46s, I've had fun in the chassis, and I also have a different project car that I'm focusing all my time on. It's a Lancia Delta Integrale Evo 2, and it's kind of an expensive car to work on, and I don't really want to spend money on parts for 2 cars, I guess, at the same time. I just want to put my main focus on the Lancia and get a more reasonable daily with a factory warranty, and you know, something I think is a little more reliable, because I'm sure this car is probably a ticking time bomb. I mean, I did the major service like rod bearing, subframe reinforcement, just did the valve cover gasket, oil change those very regularly, and all the typical service. I think the new owner is actually already experiencing issues with coolant. I think something just snapped off and is leaking coolant everywhere. So I'm sure I would have had to deal with that if I kept it longer. But I also did daily this. I drove it hard, but I didn't go too crazy. It just mainly was a daily driver, because I do have a 718 GT4 that is more of the weekend, you know, aggressive driving and track car that I use. So didn't really get the full use out of this car, I guess. But I just was satisfied with my ownership. I mean, I didn't really care to own it any longer. It's a really good chassis, but there's better cars out there, I think. I definitely think this is one of the best cars for the money, but when you can afford more, I guess it's not to sound pretentious, but I'd rather get something better. Like the GT4 is like just a significantly better car overall in terms of driver's car. And then the Lancia Delta is like kind of my classic fun car, and I've just put really nice suspension on it, and it honestly feels like the E46 now. And I still have some other bushings and supports to put on, and it's gonna feel like a tank on the road. It's gonna be insane. So just kind of all those things combined made me want to sell the car. Nothing against the car at all. Like I said, it's a really awesome, fun car to drive, but I was just tired of the ownership. I just didn't need it in my garage anymore. So that's pretty much it, and why I sold the car. It was a combination of just a few issues with the car that would have been quite a bit of money to fix, alongside also having a project car that I really want to focus all my efforts on, along with just owning a GT4, which is just a better driver's car in my opinion, and it just negates having the E46 M3. Unless I had like a giant collection, I don't see the need for the E46 and the GT4. You know, maybe in the future I'll get another E46 and do it even better, but I really don't regret selling the car. It's been about 3 months since I sold the car, and I really don't miss it at all, and I don't think I will. Again, love the chassis, just was ready to move on. So yeah, that's pretty much why I sold the car. If you want to see content on the new car coming to the channel, I guess go ahead and subscribe. I hate that I have to say that, but maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for watching.